Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Altengrad city from City Skylines. Today we will continue with the cargo port project that we started last time when we just outlined the place and finished the middle part of the port. And today we will add some industrial buildings around it and also extend the city itself by a couple of blocks. But before we are going to do that, I'm going to reconstruct some of these railroads that I placed last time. I'm going to get rid of this loop because I don't exactly like it, and seems like you guys also didn't like it too much, and I got some better ideas to just treat these elevation differences for the railroad, so that's exactly what I'm doing right here. So I'm extending that little piece of the railroad into that area which is almost going underneath that steel bridge that we created a long time ago. Maybe later I'm going to add some light industrial buildings as well, and maybe that piece of railroad is also going to act as some sort of a resupply line or something. But right now it's basically just a railroad where the trains need to go from the port, and then they need to reverse and go to this track that I'm laying down right here, which is going to be a track that goes up. Again, I made sure that the slope is not that terrible, around 1% for all the trains, and it's going to reach that little train yard that I was building on the top there. Now, I didn't finish it in today's episode, and I'm probably not going to finish it for quite some time because it's going to be a rail yard that's going to be connected with some sort of a train station for maybe some village or like a town that was just added to the Altengrad. So it's basically going to be like a suburb of Altengrad, but I really want to just complete that station when I'm going to be building that little town or village itself. So I'm just going to build a couple of tracks in here, just going to connect everything so that we can just continue with the railroads in this place, but I'm going to keep it there mostly unfinished. But like I said, I'm just going to finish these tracks. So that's exactly what I'm doing right here. So this track that goes into the train yard is going from the port area. Like I said, the port area is very low. This train station, I think, is like 20 meters above, in elevation, in terms of elevation above the port. And then it also connects to the main train station in the city, which is some 35 meters, higher still than this train station or this rail yard. So there's quite a lot of elevation differences, and I just need to make sure that we have the tracks positioned, sort of realistically, at least when it comes to the overcoming the elevation, right? So I already have plans for doing some parts of the city around that railroad. It's probably going to be in the next episode. I already somewhat started building it, so that hopefully it's going to turn out looking all right. And like I said, this rail yard is going to be a part of a train station. You can already see that I placed just some small station building right there. I'm later going to show you when I'm going to build this place. I'm going to show you how exactly I'm going to do this place, or I'm obviously just going to have to build this place first because it's just the tracks right now. And I don't think I even finished the rest of the train yard and the bridge over the water because it had to be moved from the previous position that I showed you last time. So that's all going to be completed, but today we are not really focusing on that. Today we are focusing on the port and also later on some buildings that you will see. Alright, so inside this port, we need to do a lot of stuff. It's quite a large area, like I explained last time. It's pretty much as large as the entire city at this point. So we need to definitely keep adding some buildings and details so that this place is just not going to be that empty. So at first we need to add some infrastructure, so some of these roads. Later I'm going to connect it to the rest of the road network in the city. Yeah, exactly. And here there's going to be an entrance just going over these tracks and up towards the city. And later there's going to be all kinds of different entrances. Maybe there's also going to be like a road bridge to the opposite side of the river, but we are not exactly going to deal with that right now. That's going to be well into the future. Later I'm going to change this road, yeah, exactly. In here I'm going to change this road into this like a not so great looking road, which felt better for this industrial area. And I'm also going to put some kind of decals make it in some places to make it more worn and just more industrial like. Okay, so this is that road that was going into the city. By the way, also for this episode I was redoing the entrances, like the outside map entrances into the city, because in the cinematics for the previous episode and even in that static shot where I explained the railroads, you could have seen the highway just going past, and that was not exactly good looking. It's not going to be there. Maybe there's going to be some kind of highway in the future when we advance in time in the series, but right now I don't really want to have that, and I only want to do the entrance roads into the city together with some outer villages, because those roads would obviously go through them. So I don't really want to do that kind of infrastructure just yet. Now, this is going to be something that we are going to be, this is a place that we are going to continue building in the next episode. But right now, I just created it very, very simply, and just so we can have some extension of the city already towards the industrial area in the port. So I'm just going to build this one row of blocks of just residential buildings, or all kinds of buildings, just these old blocks of buildings. Yes, I'm starting it right here. So we are at the part of the city that might have been built not that long ago. So most of these buildings I'm trying to build with the modern style, obviously talking about the time period that we are in. And I'm not really using any of those really old looking buildings anymore. I'm trying to make it so that this street where the trams are going is going to be wider, because I do have some plans for maybe changing this area for some sort of a main road going into the city. This is definitely going to be, even in this time period, a main road going into the city, because it's going to continue pretty much along the tracks, the railroad tracks, and it's definitely going to connect to that village that I'm going to build with that train station that I showed you just a couple of minutes ago, right? So this tram is just going to continue maybe all the way to the village. Maybe the tram tracks that we have in here are part of some line that was created very recently, maybe just a couple of years ago. And it was built just to connect some, outlying cities around Altengrad to the rest of the city, basically making those tiny towns and villages into suburbs of Altengrad, right? So, like I said, just doing these blocks, I'm having again these open courtyards in these blocks. In one of them, I'm going to make a very similar industrial area to what I already did back in the city, right next to the train station, the Terminus train station. If you remember, I think I did it with the park episode. So actually not that long ago. And the rest of them I'm just going to fill with some trees, because I didn't really want to bother with it too much. I explained it yesterday on the stream that these parts of the city I'm going to try to do very fast, because these blocks are not all that difficult to make. It's just the selection of buildings. It's going to be a bit repetitive because I don't have that many buildings to choose from, but I'm trying to make it look like it's not exactly looking the same. But these blocks are going to be having very similar style. Outside of the main core of the city, we are going to have lots of these blocks of buildings that are going to be looking very similar. In some places where there's going to be maybe some squares or even the railroads just going through these blocks, there's going to be some interesting projects. That's kind of what I would like to do. From now on, I would like to do something interesting, like a main focus of the episode is going to be just something. Like, for example, in this episode, we are doing the industrial area around the port. But, together with that project, or with that continuation of the project, of the port project, I'm also going to build a couple of those residential buildings, because like I explained in many episodes before, it's more of the same. Doing the residential blocks, it's just the same thing all over again. But it's very important to get that done and just achieve some specific quantity of those blocks in the city, because that's going to make the city look bigger, of course, for not that much effort, because those blocks are really not that difficult to make. And they look very good when there's going to be a lot of them, because even if you look at aerial views of Prague, for example, or any old city in Europe, Central Europe, I guess, then these blocks of old buildings, they really do look good. But there needs to be a lot of them, because just a couple of these blocks, they don't look exactly all that interesting in my opinion. But when there's a lot of them and the entire neighborhood just is built using these blocks of buildings, then it's looking good. It's just looking good. Maybe it's just my opinion. I don't know. Anyway, we are back with the port area, and I already started doing some serious construction over here. So what exactly are we doing? You can see that I switched that railroad that's going up from the port area towards that tiny train yard. Well, it's not really a tiny train yard, but just a train yard. It's going up towards it, so it's increasing the elevation. And in here, I just decided to switch it for the bridge, because I wanted to have some roads going through that area towards this place, on the other side of the tracks. It's because I wanted to have this slope that I'm putting the trees on. I wanted to have it a bit more steep, so that it would be logical to just not have any buildings on it and just cover it with trees. So that's exactly what I wanted to achieve here. I wanted to have like a clear division between the industrial area and the rest of the city. So this felt like a perfect opportunity to do some kind of a steep slope and just cover it all with trees, quite dense trees, forest pretty much, and just entirely shield this industrial area from the rest of the world pretty much, right? So probably I'm going to do this very similar style of trees around the entire port. Maybe not exactly where it's going to be closest to that train yard that I talked about many times in this episode already, because that's probably going to be somewhat connected. Like I said in the previous episode, there was an idea on the live stream that maybe I'm going to build some sort of a workers' colony connected to both of those places. Pretty much the village is going to be like where the workers, reside, and there's on the side of the village there might be some kind of workers' housing, and the industrial buildings are just going to be more towards the port, and it's all going to be connected by some, roads, paths, whatever. And it would make sense so that it's not going to be completely shielded with these forests. But in here, in this place where we are going to have those residential blocks, residential blocks for people that might not exactly work in this area, then that makes perfect sense to do it like this. Maybe in the future I might cut some path through this place and maybe add some, I don't know, stairs, maybe just an additional entrance to the industrial area. I'm not sure if you're gonna see it in the cinematics, but the road that I did as the only entrance right now into this entire port area is heavily crowded with just people walk into all these factories because they just want to work in there. And there's quite a lot of car traffic as well, a lot of truck traffic, which was to be expected. It's an industrial zone after all, but I will definitely need to add some more entrances into this place. I was thinking that maybe I could somehow do maybe a cargo train station, so that especially that connecting railroad that goes towards this place is gonna be alive with some trains. But it's a bit of a problem because realistically I would like to have the trains move into that connecting railroad and then just reverse into the port area. And I'm not exactly sure if that's going to be possible to achieve with the game's mechanics, so probably not. Maybe I could add some. That's actually an idea that I just got. Maybe I could add like a passenger train line that I'm just going to make a station somewhere on those tracks where I want the train to go, and it's just going to be like a decoration, but a moving decoration. Maybe I could find like a passenger train in the workshop that's going to be technically a passenger train, but it's going to look like a cargo train, so that it could go through this place. Or maybe I could make it in the road vehicle editor, maybe prop editor. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Maybe I'm going to do that. Anyway, let's talk more about what's going on here. So as you can see, we already moved to the detailing phase in this area. So this is the second loading platform key, whatever this is called, for the docks. So I'm just putting these cranes in here and doing all of those surfaces. Later I'm going to put all kinds of decals in this place, mostly the stains and some tire marks, and it's going to look very, very good. Right now it's looking very new, very bright, but all those decals, in this area are going to make it much, much better. Also, for the previous episode, someone asked me why am I not removing those grass thingies that are popping through these props or decals, and the reason for that is just I like them in some areas. I know there is a mod that gets rid of them completely on the entire map, but I don't really want to do that because in some places I really do want to still have them. They just look nice, and it's not that big of a deal to get rid of them from underneath all these surfaces because I can just use the ploppable, either gravel, concrete or something, and it's just working fine with that. So that's not really a problem. I also wanted to make the port area not all that dead in terms of trees and just these kind of green decorations. So between the tracks I'm putting some trees on the edges of the water as well, because the quays or the retaining walls are not all around the water inside the port, right? It's just where the ships and boats would dock to unload. So the rest of the places are just going to be more natural. I also put another set of those rocks on the sides of those little cliffs, and did some like dirt decals and all that. I'm actually doing like a special shot of that little corner of the water there. So that's something that I'm kind of proud of. These little natural details in these unnatural areas, right? Anyway, guys, we are almost at the end of today's video. So there's just going to be the cinematics, and that's going to be all. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you liked it. If you did, then you can always put a thumbs up underneath the video, share the video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And also, if you want to really support the channel, support me in what I do, then you can become a channel member by clicking the join button below. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy the cinematics. Take care and goodbye.